Good morning, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. I'm hiding in the shade because we're going to have a scorching hot day here in Portland, Oregon. Everyone was bemoaning the cool, very wet spring, and I guess the universe or whatever has answered, because now we're going to have 95 and 97 degree days. And I've noticed folks asking this morning in gardening groups, what should I do to get my veggie garden ready? What should I do to care for my plants as we are going into this heat wave? So I'm going to give you 3 tips for things that I am doing this morning before the heat gets really awful. And I'm going to continue to do should we have more than just a few days of heat. I feel like these are measures you can take if you're stepping into a weekend of hot weather, 2-3 days. If you are looking at a long-term episode of really hot weather, you may need to take more steps than this. Perhaps you are looking at something like we had here in Portland last year with our heat dome that just went on for days and days and days and days. But for this little burst of hot weather we're about to have, that is quite a step up from the 65 and 70 degree temperatures we've been having, there are a few things you can do to help protect your plants. So I'm going to show you what I'm up to this morning. And yes, there will be noise in the neighborhood because everybody, including us, is trying to get their yard projects done before it gets too hot. So bear with me. The first thing you can do, if you are growing plants that are prone to bolting in hot weather, that's perhaps your brassicas, you can consider covering them with shade cloth for the next few days. That is something that can help reduce the heat stress on them enough that they may or may not bolt. You may also consider, if they start bolting, to go ahead and clip them back, because that can kind of suppress that bolting behavior, especially if night temperatures get cool or in a few days temps cool off again. The second thing that you can do is that you can water your garden deeply in the morning. Now, I don't generally water my garden at all unless we're having extreme heat. The little caveat there is if I have young plants in the garden. So what I do is I take my finger and I put it down 2 knuckles into the soil. If it's still moist that deep, my plants generally don't need any water. But if you're looking at a young transplant that perhaps hasn't had time to really build a network of roots yet, if you're looking at a young fruit tree, something like that, I will definitely give it a big drink as we are going into temps that are quite a bit hotter than they're used to. So water early in the morning. Watering in the evening tends to promote the growth of fungal issues like downy and powdery mildew. So have that water happen in the morning. You don't want to water in the heat of the day where the water will mostly evaporate. The plants are not really receptive to sucking up water. You're going to be wasting a lot of water, and you're going to look at potentially adding that water to your leaves and encouraging or promoting sunburn on your leaves. So water early in the morning. That way the residual moisture on the leaves has a chance to dry out during the day, but you are watering at a time when the plants are primed to suck it up. I'm just going to do some sprinkling of the beds here. I've noticed particularly some of my tomatoes back here where I have not mulched yet are really struggling a bit already. It's that harsh transition from cooler temps to a sudden jump 20 or 30 degrees warmer. They are not acclimated yet. You might also notice in the background here, I'm making sure some of the sprinkler is going into the poultry run so that the ducks, I have an old duck right here, can sit and enjoy the mist. They really get a kick out of that in the hot weather. So I'm going to go ahead and just water my veggie beds. Everywhere else is heavily mulched. And then I'm going to put down chop and drop mulch. I'm going to put down all of this comfrey that I'm about to cut back. So let me show you that next. The third thing that I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be adding more mulch. Now, because life has been really busy, I have not gotten the thick layer of chop and drop mulch over all of my veggie beds that I normally put down as we go into summer. There are a few spots where there's still bare open soil. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut back all my comfrey today, and I'll show you that. And I am going to put down a layer of mulch to help shade and cool the soil, and also to help conserve the water that I just put on my beds. Weeds also make great mulch if they have not gone to seed. Might as well make use of them, put them around the base of your veggies. At this point in the summer, comfrey is just about finished with its spring blooming and is starting to look tired and can be prone to powdery mildew. It's a great time to cut it back and use it as mulch. It will flower again later. Now, if you're reaching into the plant, you might want to be careful because there are plenty of bumblebees in it. I got stung on the hand here. It did not feel too great. There are a few blossoms left, and that means pollinators may be in there, so watch where you are putting your hands. Now, if you don't have comfrey growing in your garden, as I said before, you can use weeds that have not gone to seed. I really enjoy using comfrey because it is such a beautiful plant in the garden and brings in all of the pollinators, and it produces such vast quantities of biomass. It's also very hardy and resilient, and you can cut it back to the ground multiple times a year without any issue. Now, because I know I'll get questions or comments, I do often garden in a skirt. I particularly love wearing linen in the summer. This is a zero waste skirt I experimented with. It is made out of, I believe, 1.5 yards of mossy green linen. I find that linen dries very quickly in the sunshine and is very cool and breathable, and a great option for wearing hiking, gardening, etc. I left a few volunteer radishes in here that are actually growing up and kind of shading my tomatoes a little bit. I think those will be of benefit, so I'm just gonna leave them. If you've got existing plants that are shading some of your bolt-prone plants, you might go ahead and leave those overhanging. Now I'm gonna take this big pile of comfrey here, and you can see these patches of bare soil. As soon as the sprinkler's done, I'm going to be mounding those around so I can shade the soil and conserve water. So thanks for watching today. I hope you're taking care of your plants and yourself in this heat wave. To those of you in the Southwest, in the South and the East Coast of the United States, and folks, I believe in several places in Europe who are currently under heat dome, extreme heat circumstances, I hope that you are finding ways to take care of yourselves and to take care of your garden. I'm so sorry that we're all facing these kind of severe weather episodes. It's just absolutely devastating for so many people. So I hope that we can work toward designing resilient communities, resilient ways of interacting with the planet, supporting with the planet, and reducing the impact of climate change. Please check out my Patreon down below if you'd like to support this channel. There's also a new button that YouTube has added. I didn't actually know it was there until a friend pointed it out, where you can click and you can just say, thanks, Angela, I appreciate the work you do. I'm going to throw a couple of bucks at your channel. So thank you, YouTube, for adding that. That's new and I wasn't aware of it. And I will be back for my permaculture garden tomorrow.